than Nkiru, who is a coach. She is an author. She wrote the book, The Pressure Cooker: Lessons from a Working Woman. And I think this is why we really want to get into her brain and ask her as much as we can. And I know her more from corporate. She doesn't play, trust me. She used to be my client. There's been lots of lessons from that.
Jules, you must keep it private here. Eh? Private. You must keep it private.
No, a woman and I, from the corporate side, from the way we experience her, she's somebody that knows what she wants. She's very clear in communicating on what it is that she actually wants, you know, and she gets to it. So I thought, who better to talk to, you know, to us, to help us navigate this world of careers and workplace than yourself. So thank you so much, Nkiru, for making some time for us.
True pleasure and honor to be with the YzeUp.Africa. Obviously, wisdom is something we need. So let's all wisen up this evening.
Oh, love it, love it, love it. So quickly, I think advancement in careers is really a hot topic. So before we jump into it, though, I know who you are. Maybe you can just give everybody who's coming on a quick snapshot of who you are, where you started, work, career, mom, family, whatever.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, name obvious. And I often like to describe myself as a multi-passionate careerpreneur. Look, I know it's a mouthful, but that's who I am. So I'm a multi-passionate careerpreneur.
Okay.
I'm married. I'm a mom to 2 boys. One 16, I always forget. The other 13. I've worked for over 2 decades now across sectors. I'm currently in financial services, but I've worked in aviation, worked in oil and gas, and there's a third sector and telecommunications. So this is me. Do quite a couple of things, which is why I describe myself as multi-passionate. I run a podcast for the working girl. I run the Lighthouse Network, which is a personal development agency, and I do many, many other things on the side. Judith knows.
Yeah, no, she multi all of those things. I don't know if she gets the time. So I think before we get stuff, take us through the book. Where did it start? How did you get into I'm going to write a book about, you know, the working woman?
Right. So I started the pressure cooker from a column.
Okay.
And it was a column I was writing in Business Day, you know, at the time, many years ago, can't count. And I was writing the column out of frustration. I was trying to be the best wife, best mother, best daughter-in-law, best friend, best everything. And I was struggling.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the middle of the struggles, I just, you know, I'll go for this women event. Thank you. I'll go for this women events and I'll be saying, you know, even before they said question time, I'll put up my hands. I'll be like, how do you manage it? You know, and I found people who didn't tell me, you know, deep things that I thought resonated with me. So I thought, you know what, for whilst I'm here struggling, at least I have the right to express myself. So I'll express myself by writing. And I went to Business Day to say, Business Day, you're too business-like. Can we have some softer side of you?
Yeah.
And I started writing a column called The Pressure Cooker, talking about, you know, how challenging it was to be a working mom. And I started getting responses. And, you know, that's how many years on, I turned it into a book.
Oh, wow. Okay, so where can people get this book? Because obviously we're in South Africa right now. Where can they get the book?
So it's on Amazon. Okay. But obviously people say to me, Amazon takes a while to deliver. But there's also something called seller.com.
Okay.
Seller.com. SELARR.com.
Okay. So I think before we get, so everyone who's joined us, thank you so much. How this works is please type all your questions, any questions. Nkiru is here to answer. She'll try to answer as much as she can. But I thought let me start with the questions, and then yeah, so I'll be looking out for your questions, and then yeah, and then I'll just I'll get Nkiru to answer it. But so you're well accomplished. I think we can say that. Somebody just said your profile is rather intimidating, and it's true. Yes, you are.
Don't know about that. We're on a journey. We're journeying. We're journeying. We're journeying. We're journeying. We're on a journey.
We're journeying. But from where we're sitting, you're well accomplished. If we start talking about developing oneself, where does one begin? Where did you begin?
Look, I think that, I mean, as always, it's great to start with principles. Well, I find that whenever I'm challenged with anything unclear, I start with principles. And look, I think the first principle is I needed to improve my value for myself.
Okay.
And my value so that I am more marketable. Okay. And you know what that did for me was take me back to the room to say, where are the gaps? You know, where are the gaps? Or maybe they were not necessarily gaps, but where were the areas of improvement? What were the things I needed to build on, you know, to become more marketable, to be, to have more value, you know, to offer myself and to offer a corporate. So those were the kinds, you know, of thinking, you know, that I started out with. And I often say, I say it all the time, if you don't invest in you, who will? Who will?
Yeah. And I think maybe unpack that. What does investment in yourself actually look like?
Look, I think that investment in yourself is, you know, increasing or taking deliberate steps to increase your value. And, you know, I'll explain it. So I worked in Virgin for about 8 years, Virgin Atlantic, and then Virgin Nigeria. And, you know, immediately what happens to you when you get into a sector like aviation is that you're immediately intimidated.
Yeah.
They're a sector full of acronyms. they have acronyms, you know, even just understanding the different aircraft. They say, oh, no, today we brought the A380-800. Today we brought the, I'm like, what's going on here? And so I think that, you know, from the basics, you know, self-improvement is really even understanding the sector you are in and how the sector works. Yeah. So it's understanding the sector you are in, understanding how the sector works, and understanding how the sector makes money. So critical, otherwise you are wasting your time. Are you in the best sector, consulting sector? Understand how it makes money. Those are the first levels of improvement. Okay. And then you come back, as I like to say, Judith, you take yourself to a roundtable meeting and you say, now that I understand, now that I understand what it is that is happening in my sector, what do I need to do to become more valuable? Yeah. And that's where you start to find gaps and find ways to plug the gaps.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you deal with, so I mean, the person you're speaking to about right now, rather, is really somebody who really wants to achieve, right? They've come in and they've said, Sekula's like, you're talking about her industry, the aviation industry. So say it's,
I see.
And Sekula, I hope you have questions for us. Please feel free to type them in and you can answer them. She works in your industry. But yeah. So
I see.
So there I am, and I want to improve. I know how to make money, but I have this manager and who keeps telling me, you need to relax. You know what I mean? You're just a junior, or and you are already talking about how the company can make money. How do you balance your need for achievement to the corporates, how corporates actually work, you know, in terms of your growth?
Look, I think that, which is why I like the name YzeUp. There is a lot of wisdom to which a lot of people will also, for the workplace, term emotional intelligence. Yeah. And I call it, you know, emotional intelligence has many parts. There is social intelligence, there is cultural, you know, intelligence. And I think that emotional intelligence would help you balance, you know, your need and your desire for growth. Yeah. And obviously the feedback that your manager, you know, is providing to you. But a few things. I think that the first thing is to understand and I think make no apologies for your ambition.
Sure.
I say so because the truth is, you know, we're different. We have different palm designs, different eyes, and therefore we have, you know, different desires, and my desire is not yours and yours is not mine. So even though the manager says, you know, temper it, balance it, he doesn't know what my innate desires are and, you know, what the timelines I've set for myself.
Yeah.
But I think that wisdom allows you balance what he means by manage it with your personal ambitions. And I'll just give a practical example.
Mm-hmm.
So he says manage it, but you've investigated in the organization and you found out that the route to the top is longer from where you are, your manager are, versus where the other departments are. So what you kind of say to yourself is, you know what? I'm going to work so hard for this guy for 6 months and then let him know that I'm moving. And what then happens is he's feeling good about you. He feels like you've heard him with the managers, but you're thinking about yourself and there is an open option and you're going. So
yeah,
I'm not sure why I should tell, you know, my time using my manager's wristwatch.
Yeah. No, I like that, and I think it's so important in the workplace because we really getting and there's a line that I have here, being proactive versus being forward. You know what I mean? So and I saw this actually when I was young and working in the retail industry, and you would work really hard and be like, listen, I don't want to be a person who is packing clothes anymore. I want to go work at the tills. You know, and when it comes to you, you're being forward. But then you would see other people, same organization, who pick up their hands and all of a sudden, not only are they skills, they are also, you know what I mean, being made into managers and all of that. Obviously, I learned from a very young how to balance the two. What would you say to someone about being proactive versus being forward?
Look, I think that forward is relative. And I say forward is relative because there are many times in the course of my career where I've said, oh my goodness, she's been too forward, but she gets what she wants.
Yeah.
And I'm the one who's saying, I don't want to be forward and I'm not getting, you know, what it is that I want.
Yeah.
So I think that forward is relative. And I know that people take offense more about approach than the content.
Yeah.
I say to people, and this is my new thing,
yeah,
you can say anything
if
your approach is right.
Sure.
And approach is mannerisms, tonality, and timing.
Yes.
Mannerisms, tonality, and timing.
Yeah.
So, you know, your boss is not saying to you, I remember, you know, a young lady who worked for me in a private capacity. We had, you know, an event in the Lighthouse Network, you know, that I ran. And in the middle of the event, you know, we were packing, you know, stuff after the event. And she said to me, and that a friend of mine had offered her an opportunity and she wanted to go. So tonality was wrong, mannerisms were wrong, and timing. So I think that forward is relative. If you are able to deliver your request or your desire in a professional manner with the right tonality and in the right timing, I don't think that you're being forward if you're going for what it is that you want.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I actually think I'm probably defined as both. I can be Ava's got a question. How do I orientate my line and subsequently the executives in the company about my team, our resources, our work, our KPIs, if they do not know, I love this, anything about our field, that is social media. So she's working in social media, but the people she's working with or for, right? Talking about Gen, what are you now, Gen Z? You know?
Not the Z. Yeah, the Z.
Space, yeah, but they don't understand it. So how does she orientate them, being the younger person? I mean, in this environment.
Look, I think that you have a huge advantage. And look, I say so because you are going to reap great outcomes when they get a hang of what it is that you do. So look, I think that first of all is you must know, you know, where they are as an organization and where they are with the journey. And I think that when you take it, I'm not sure who you take the KPIs from, you take the KPIs and what your KPIs are. And then obviously you then cascade it to your team. But you then go to whoever your line manager is to say, this is my KPI, and this is what I require from the executives to be able to deliver on it. One, an understanding, of what it is that I do.
Yeah.
And so what you're requesting for is time on the ESCO schedule to show them what it is that you do. And let me tell you what to do. The shock effect of social media on a corporate is a lot. So maybe perhaps when you get the audience, you're not doing this is how SEO happens, or this is how you check sentiments. You're doing corporate Z. The chief executive was not aware of the impact of his behavior in a pub. Sure. Somebody took a picture, posted it, and the shares came tumbling. Their ears. You need a shock effect story. That's how executives understand social media.
Love that.
And then, immediately they will turn to you. And I think that, one of the things you can do is to speak to them about the power of, having brand advocates. And how do you advocate for a brand?
Yeah.
I remember, being part of the corporate, and I compelled every executive member to open up social media handles. And I said to them, let's have minimum. The minimum is Twitter, the very basic. How does someone think we're a forward-thinking company if they ask my CEO, are you on Twitter? And he says no. I'm like, no, you each have to register your presence. And then I gave them, rules. So you design the policies to say, these are the social media policies. Yeah. This is how it would work. This is the impact of not being on it. And that's the way that they understand. They need the shock effect to see what happens to corporates, who haven't, been deliberate about managing social media. So those, I think, are the basic level tips. And you must send reports. And corporates like comparisons. So you say, let's say you are Delta Airlines, and, you say, oh, I just wanted to show you the social media sentiments for this week. You work at Emirates versus Delta Airlines. You are going to see them saying they don't have the details. Why are we low? They don't know what low is. But why is our sentiment not great? So people like comparison.
Yeah.
CEOs compare themselves to other CEOs all the time.
Yeah.
So use a shock effect to tell a strong brand story and how important it is to be on social media. And of course, do the comparisons on related brands so they can see the value.
I love that. And I think one of the young people I spoke to on social media called those vanity metrics. So we're very vain as individuals. So if you're able to show them case studies of, how you're doing very well or how the other company is doing very well, as you're saying, it really to those. So Sekelo, get onto the internet or, use your reports and search, do a comparison.
True.
Take them through that. Okay, we have the out technique. I think that's right. You are asking, how or what would you advise a technocrat who is tired and bored of the monotony but is unsure how or what to venture? It's a nice one.
Right. So we are going to assume that the technocrat has had many years. Obviously, that's why he's a technocrat.
Yeah.
In whatever sector that he is.
Yeah.
Look, I think that there needs to be kind of like a clarity session. And I say to people, and that's not because I went to get a coach's certification, but I say to people, coaches are so important, and even more so now. So I think my professional advice would be get a coach to take you through a clarity session. And that would include where the areas of interest, for you. And alongside the areas of interest is, if money is important to you, because again, we don't have the full context, is where the areas of interest, that can help you yield revenue. If you are still in a 9-to-5, what are the low level activities or low attention level activities that you can start off, whilst you're still in corporate, I'm planning, to get out of it. Look, the good thing is that the internet has, obviously reduced proximity. And so whatever it is that you choose, the channels of, getting out the service of the products are really, just in hand or very close up. So I think that, then designing a go-to-market strategy wouldn't be difficult. But what is most important is having that clarity session, and in that clarity session will be a lot of unpacking of who you are, unpacking of what is of interest to you, unpacking, what it is that you can do with minimal effort, what it is, that you can do if money is important to you. So those are the sorts of things you can do. But I mean, I hear you talk about monotony, but I want to assure you, and respectfully so, that, even flying an Airbus A380 400 gets boring after a while, because you start you get on, you check, to check that your equipment is on. Then you are flying, you put it in cruise, you probably go and chat to the cabin crew. So anything will become monotonous in no time anyway, will be my view.
Agreed. And I literally actually wanted to say that, because I started off in research and it really became monotonous. You are checking data, writing a report, it goes out, and then it's the next one, and it's the next one. And I had a life coach, you're right. Luckily for me, the company that I had was on my growth plan anyway, so they got me a life coach to find out what it is that I actually do. I literally created my own fun moments in the monotony, and it's so fun back to that company using that. So while they kind of churned out things exactly like this, because of my creative sense, I actually started adding in my own other things. And thank God for an amazing who was actually like, oh, okay, you can actually go ahead and do that. So I agree with you with monotony in everything that you're going to do. At some point, it becomes that. It's about you, what you like. In that monotony, add in your bit of spice. And I love that. Get a lot to kind of, help you expand and kind of line you that you actually like. So okay, the timeout technique says.
Judith, who would have thought that you started out in research? I would never have thought.
I had a very interesting career path, and it's so important to also discuss that. So I studied marketing. In my head, I was going straight into brand. I was a typical student, waited for the companies to come to the to universities to come and recruit, got into Unilever, interview all the way to the top. Literally had a moment of just crashing. Like, how am I going to explain to my parents that I have been studying, and literally I'm almost towards the end of my degree and I have no job. I was not getting hired. God has an interesting way of taking you onto a different path. So I saw this advert. It was for a graduate recruitment program in a newspaper. And I applied to it, and I kid you not, I think they said they had more than 300 applications. They were only looking for 6 people. But I got involved in that because, again, about mapping your path. Yes, I wanted to get to brand, but this ad spoke to me because it said I would work in research from brand equity on how to build a brand and how to track the brand. So this sounds like something I can go for. And thank God I actually made it. I was one of the 6 people. We were the first people. And I learned so much about brand that I'm happier where I am now, because, I can tell you,
that.
Correct. So I think it's a lesson in life as well, that sometimes you map out your plan that after studies or after whatever, this is going to end up, but actually life takes you somewhere else. And it's very important that you're ready for that moment when life takes you there, you're either going to crumble or you're actually going to grab the opportunity. And I think it's important that we discuss that, in terms of career path. So I'm waiting for another question, but I think while we're on that, I've got a question on mentorship. What is your opinion on mentor on your career or in your workspace?
Look, I think that mentorship is very important, and I often encourage people, to find mentors, because a mentor is someone who supports you, holds your hands through whatever journey you are going to, can be life, marriage, career, whatever. And I say to people, well, I've never had a silver bullet mentor, which is, one mentor for every facet. I've typically had, different mentors for different areas. But, having said that, there are a couple of things, to mention. One is how you go about, finding a mentor. And then the second is I think that even before you get into, because it would appear that it has become quite popular, even before you get into to finding a mentor, you need to ask yourself what your objective is.
Yeah.
And for so long, before I set up the Lighthouse Network, I guess a lot of people saying, please, can you mentor me? Please, can you mentor me? And I'm finding they're looking for friends, for friendship. And I'm not looking for friendship because I've got a house full of, friends. So you've got to be clear what it is that you want, what it is you want out of the mentor,
Yeah.
and, what are your objectives for having this mentor? Yeah. So are you getting, a marriage mentor because you're going through a patch, or there are things that you think you need to learn, about marriage? Are you getting a career mentor because you're trying to navigate some things at the workplace and you believe that you need to be handheld?
Yeah.
So you need to think about what your objective is, and you also need to think about if you're teachable. Because I find people who are going all out and saying, I mean, when we do the structured mentorship at the Lighthouse and we pair people up, look, I can't count how many times people have reported in to say, I cleared my desk, I was waiting for her, she never came through. So you can't be that person. You can't waste people's man hours.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you find people who are saying, oh, she didn't take, there's so many things you've got to, with mentorship, people think that there's a lot of taking. You have giving to do as well.
Yeah.
You've got to be humble.
Yeah.
Because with mentorship, you are learning from someone and you are asking someone their views. Yeah. And they're saying, no, I don't think so, because in my experience. So there is, a lot that you need to do and think about before you approach someone for mentorship.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely love that. I have a mentor. And it was actually my ex.
I do.
From I got into this company, I was young and I was just like, I want to be like this guy. But how do I get there? Mm-hmm. So every time we had KPIs, I would write mentor. I would say, this is the person I want to mentor me. And it's so funny, from then up until, to your point, be open to learning. And he's open to learning. So funny enough, we learn from each other. With your young mind, bring in stuff that, the old might actually learn from as well. So I like the fact that saying mentorship is actually, it's a two-way street. And humble yourself enough. That's really great. Kempumi has got a question for us. She says, oh, this should be easy for you because this is how you introduce yourself. How do you balance your multiple careers? I have a 9-to-5, which I enjoy, but I have other areas of interest outside of my 9-to-5.
Look, I think that because I'm a multi-passionate person, I believe that each area of my multifaceted or multi-passionate personality helps me thrive, greater in other area.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, I feel that because, I have these things where I channel my energy to, in my 9-to-5, I do quite great.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at things, from a different perspective. I'm not taking things personal. You can't, say to me that I'm trash. I'm not, trash, because I've got other areas, that remind me, of my worth and remind me, of what it is, that I bring to the table. So I think that's at the first level. But I think just in terms of balancing, there is the standard give to Caesar what is Caesar's. As an example, I don't take, personal engagements during working hours. I just came off an appointment, and I made sure the appointment was at 5:30 at the most.
Yeah.
And what that does for me is find that I'm done with my 9-to-5, because integrity is important to me.
Yeah.
So I kind of divide, things, at different times. And sometimes it might mean a lot more pressure because there are only 2 days in the weekend. And it means that I'm doing, a lot more. But the truth is the fulfillment that comes out of that is very far-reaching to me. So I'm willing to make the sacrifice.
I love that. I love that. And you know what? I think I learned at some point from, I think he was a psychologist, but he was teaching us was it's not time management, it's self-management. We all have to, every one of us, right? And do this 9-to-5.
Let's write that down.
This other thing. And I'm sure Nkiru can also tell you, it's possible. It is absolutely possible.
Yes.
to do the 9 to 5 and do the same with integrity, switch off, and then get into the other passionate things. But if you are concentrating on time a lot, then you're going to stumble, because you only have 24 hours. But if you learn how to, you know, between Monday to, what can I do between Monday to Sunday? What can I do between this time to this time? Then you will be able to kind of, you know, navigate the two elements. I think most of us are doing that. Most of us are living, what did you call it again? What, from multi? I need to write this down.
Multi-passionate careerpreneur.
Multi-passionate careerpreneurs. There we go. So Mpumi,
yes.
If somebody ever asks you who you are, you're a multi-passionate careerpreneur. Okay. Top management. So with that, you can be like Nkiru. I don't know how she does it, but she does all of those things. Question from Miss Badmas, I think. How do you handle unhealthy competition, strife at the workplace, especially, I love that, especially with people who think you are a threat to them? Yes, please.
So how do you handle unhealthy competition, did she say?
Yes, at the workplace,
especially from people who
think you are a threat to them.
Oh, right. That's a tough environment to be in.
Yeah.
Look, I think that, you know, I mean, I say all the time that you are responsible for you and not always, you know, the other person's behavior. But I think also in a couple of ways you can support the person. But I think first for you is to be sure that, you know, you are not the one who is, you know, perceiving it incorrectly or is in competition. You know, and I think that actually competition in itself is not bad. It is unhealthy competition, you know, it's bad, because the truth is, if you all came in, you know, as graduates and trainees, then you invariably or inevitably are in competition because you must rise, and maybe that's just setting that principle straight. But I think the second thing is you must also be careful not to put yourself, you know, in positions that you know, would stimulate that competition. And I know that everything is not dependent on you. So if that person in particular, you know, makes you grossly uncomfortable and you do have an opportunity, you know, to replace the person on a project, maybe you can say, can I just pair with another person, you know, on this project, you know, so that you are able to protect, you know, your mental state. And I think that if you have the opportunity, please put the people, you know, at ease. And what that does for you when you put them at ease is, you know, you have some peace, they have some peace. You know, because the truth is, life is not a competition. I say to people every day that there are hundreds of thousands of birds in the air, and I've never seen where they had an accident and fell down, you know, on me. So, and it's the same thing for the stars. Hundreds of thousands of them, you know, in the galaxy, and we all shine brightly. So I think that in the times that you can, find the way to provide, you know, assurance, you know, to the person, to be comfortable, you know, and understand that, you know, you are not in competition. But remember what I said, that you must start with yourself. One, to understand that it's not imagined. Two, to understand if you, you know, are projecting, you know, things that also makes the person feel like they are in competition. And, you know, sometimes it is true that people are in competition with you, you know, even if you are not in competition with them, but that is their problem, because they're going to be, you know, running so fast and you are not running anywhere because you're, you know, carrying your pace. And also protect your environment, you know, ask sometimes, you know, to be moved, you know, to pair with somebody else. And lastly, try as much as you can, you know, if you can, to, you know, kind of switch the person, make the person feel comfortable, because life is not a competition, I promise you.
Correct. And I think, so I've seen, when you're a line manager, you also see that. You get to see the unhealthy competition. And I've seen it, team members in my life where they were competing, and, you know, and the other one was just from a mental health perspective, it was just actually impacting both of them. What I did learn from that, the other person who was feeling threatened didn't know who they were, and didn't know what their value was. So sometimes it's a projection, but it's actually a projection from that other person, right? So they are putting you down because you're a threat to them. But you know who you are and you know what your value is. Continue being yourself. Continue to give what you need to be giving in the work. Try as many times, I always say this, for other people to see your work, you know, not just one person as well. So that when there's time for KPIs or when there's time for that discussion, people are able to see well-rounded Judith, right? To say, nah, she wasn't like that. Nah, she wasn't like that with me. And that was actually what is going on in that. The reassurance also comes from the manager. So I had to reassure the other person to say, I don't know what you're going crazy about, because this is what you're good at. And this is what that person is good at. And that's why you're a team, right? Because I'm leveraging both your skills. So that's it. So I think sometimes it's when you know who you are at your core, continue being who you are, shining. But saying, Nkiru, as don't also be threatening, you know what I mean, in your advancement. Be who you are, be true to yourself, but be kind as well, knowing that you've got something else actually doesn't have. Yeah. Okay. But I've got Adachi. I think it's Adachi. Asking, what do you do when your boss in your 9 to 5 expects you to be available at all times, negatively impacting on your other passions? Yeah.
Look, I think it depends on the sector that you're working. If you worked in aviation and in some roles, you had to be, and that's why I learned, you know, to integrate work and life. You had to be available literally in a lot of ways around the clock.
Yeah.
So that's at the first level. So I think, one, it depends on your sector.
Yeah.
And two, I think that you can create boundary. And creating boundaries responsibly.
Yeah.
So now the manager sends you a message at 7, 8 p.m. personally, and that's only because I've always worked in fast-paced sectors. You know, back at the time, it wouldn't be a big deal to me. I'll respond. You know, 7, 8, 9, I respond.
Yeah.
But if you send me something, you know, at 11, 12, I won't respond until tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And I also won't respond at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I won't respond until past 8, because the message I'm trying to send out is you can't talk to me until 8 a.m., you know, in the morning. So you've got to create boundaries respectfully.
Yeah.
And even though I say so, you've also got to weigh the cases on an individual basis. So it'll be terrible that he or she is, and I'm being dramatic, is at the office, you know, on a Saturday, has gone to pick something, and I know they should have notified you, and they've driven all the way from Pumalanga, and they're now in Santon, and then they're messaging you, and you see it and you don't respond. I find that is now tapering around, you know, on kindness. But create your boundaries. And sometimes, I mean, depending on how hectic it is to say, I actually don't have my weekend to myself. Then you can explain. Some people truly, genuinely don't have their weekends. They're caring for their parents. They're just involved in various things. But I think that creating boundaries and helping, after all, in teams, you know, people might giggle and laugh, you know, in some of the teams I've been in, but you know, they'll say to me, don't send it to him. He will never, no. But you must know, he won't respond, you know, on a Saturday. Just leave it. He won't respond, you know, on a Saturday. That's just how he is. So you must take charge of creating those boundaries respectfully and professionally.
Absolutely. And I think, just to reiterate, that it depends on the industry that you're in. As you said, so am I. Like, I work in events, and unfortunately events are up until 2 in the morning. Unfortunately, at 9 p.m. You know what I mean? While you're setting up an event, off, and you need the team to actually get in. And I think we had a great manager in a sense that he would gather the team when that kind of project is coming in, and kind of warn everybody, guys, this is a once off. You know what I mean? Things are going to go crazy. Words are going to be said. because we're about to go into hectic pressure. Emails are going to be sent at funny hours. But once we get to have duvet days, you know what I mean? Which was now choose a day because you've been, and I think we're given 2 days post an event, you know, because you've been working crazy hours. So I think for me, it's that first, as you say, check the industry that you're in. And then two, I think we need to have the conversations with our line managers on just how we work. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes you did answer that email at 9 p.m. or at 12 o'clock, which led me to believe you're okay with that, right? Because we were trying so hard in the beginning to please the boss so that we could get that career, you know what I mean, to climb back. And unfortunately, you teach people who they think you are. Correct, on how to treat you. So if you're answering my mail at 12, I'm going to send you an email at 12 again. You know what I mean? It's bad management.
I hear you.
It's you open those boundaries for me to actually do that with you. So respectfully, as Nkiru said, have a conversation with the line manager to just kind of say, you know, this doesn't work for me. How can we work better and still deliver on what it actually want me to do? Because we're all different people. Some people are morning people, some people are afternoon people, some people, I work very well at night. I don't expect you to respond to me, but that's just the best time that I'm actually really creative. So yeah, I think it's a conversation. Have a conversation around it and how it goes. Okay, I have a question, and then I have another one from Alvia .clothing that I'm gonna take. But this question, since you've worked in multiple industries, right? You've moved from, as you're saying, aviation all the way to financial services. How do you apply for a job in another industry when your experience is mostly in the one industry? Do you know what I mean? How do you jump from aviation to financial services? How do you position yourself?
Look, I think that it depends on the segment that you're in.
Okay.
And I say segment because a few segments are sector agnostic. Marketing communication is sector agnostic. Human resources is sector agnostic. Who else can I count? Sometimes legal can be sector agnostic because it's really just learning about, you know, the area.
Yeah.
We cannot say that risk management or operations are fully sector agnostic because, again, you are focused on the sector.
Yeah.
So I think for the purpose of responding to this question, I'm going to assume that you are asking because the experience you have is not sector agnostic. It is specific to that sector.
Yeah.
Look, so I think that understand what role it is that you're looking for in the new industry and understand what the requirements are.
Yeah.
What are the requirements?
Yeah.
And sometimes you need a bit of certification, investing it, do the certification. Sometimes it's also that, you know, you need a bit of exposure to the sector. And we are in the age of over-information. So there is a lot that you can find, you know, lying around on the internet.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think that's one of the things you must not do with yourself is to self-disqualify before you apply for the role.
I like that.
So you are saying to yourself, no, I'm not qualified. I don't have the... Look, what's the point of your long hands if you can't pluck the fruit that is way higher than you? And what's the point of always being able just to pluck, you know, the fruits that is in front of you? You must extend. You know, that's how growth happens.
Yeah.
And I say to people that... look, I remember once many years ago, and I wonder if the woman remembers. I don't know how I managed to get in front of her, but she was probably looking for someone with about 15 years experience. And I showed up with my 3 years experience. And I told her I was quite capable. She was so fascinated. I remember her till today. She ended up being a minister in Nigeria. She laughed and laughed and said, "You? How?" She giggled. And guess what she did? She wrote me a note. She wrote a note and said to her colleague, I met a very hilarious young girl. Please talk to her. You know, and I thought, you know, leg in the door. So don't self-disqualify. You just never know. And, you know, in the end, alongside every qualification that we have is the skill of being able to pitch yourself. And that's what interviews are about. So don't self-disqualify, you know, find what is required, certification, a bit of exposure, free learning, and then just going there and make a pitch. You just never know. You never know.
I love that. And it's true. And I'm one, it goes back to that being proactive versus being forward. I love that analogy that you spoke about, you know, the hand. Why are you picking up the fruit that's just right in front of you? You know what I mean? Stretch it out.
Yeah.
Stretch it out. What do you have to lose? I think the biggest thing that we all need to be taught is there's two possibilities that are going to happen. You're going to get the job or you're not going to get the job. If you prepare yourself for those two, there is no room for disappointment. As you said, go high. You might be like you, they'll laugh at you for a while, but positively come out of it.
True.
You need to enjoy your life and just prepare for the outcomes. Okay, let me take Alvia's question. Is it okay if a line manager doesn't recommend you for promotion, but hides their promotion from you, and is always running away from decision making, but is always quick to put the blame of failure on you? Wow. Okay.
That's what I posted about yesterday. In real life, there are terrible managers of people. And sometimes it's because they don't know better. And that's why I say to people, and obviously Maya Angelou says that when you know better, you will do better.
Yeah.
Look, it is, and I'm not sure, you should ask her or him why you didn't get promoted. And I'm not sure what your company policy is. I don't know if she's obliged, you know, to speak to you about her promotion or his promotion. I'm not sure what your organizational circumstances or policies are. It's hard. I'm not going to pretend it's very hard. Obviously, I've worked for the duration that I've worked, and in the course of it, you would find unkind managers. Sometimes they're unkind because they don't know any other way, and sometimes they're unkind because they don't know, they're inexperienced, and they've been thrust, you know, with this huge task of managing people.
Yeah.
So look, I think that it's important sometimes to have, and when did I read it? A few days ago, someone told a story of how, you know, she had a manager who was the boss straight from hell. You know how, you know, you come in Monopoly, they say go to jail, don't stop at stop. So this manager did not stop at stop. This manager came straight from hell. And, you know, she talks about the benefits of timing, tonality, and she said on a Saturday, they were working on a Saturday shift, and there were no customers. It was light, and you know, she went to the manager to say, "I just want to let you know that this is how you make me feel, and I dread coming to work, you know, daily." And she said she could see the shock in the manager's face, like, "Really? Is that really my impact on you?"
Yeah.
And you know, the manager didn't apologize, but adjusted, you know, her behavior. So the truth is, your manager may not understand her impact on you or his impact. So it's important to have a conversation. You know, I say to people often that, you know, communication is the reason two countries don't go to war. Very vital to communication. And the truth is, you're assuming she knows, she doesn't know. She's assuming you in a certain way you don't know. So until you sit down and remember the principles: respect, tonality, and timing. Timing. Once you have those three things, you can tell someone anything.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay, we have another question from Adachi. But before I go into that, there's this theme about passion. Loving what you do, be passionate about what you do, and then you're going to have a happy life. And, you know, in your career or in the workplace. What?
I'm glad this is laughing. I'm glad we're laughing.
Your opinions on this, because yeah, I think by us laughing you can already see what the answer is. But yeah, what is your opinion on this?
Look, I think that, you know, because this is real life, adulting is something that is happening.
Yeah.
And why I say adulting is, it's not everyone who is fortunate to pursue their passion as their career. Not everyone. Not everyone is, you know, Elon, who is joyously embracing, you know, electronic car production and all of the tech things that are interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes what adulting is that you are doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is a very different sermon from all that the, motivational speakers say to us about finding your passion and pursuing it. And, the truth is that's great. And it is a blessing when you're able to find not just your passion and pursuing it, but when you are able to earn an income from finding your passion, pursuing it, that's a real blessing.
Amen.
But the truth is, this is adulting. And in adulting, you do what you need to do to pay your bills. In adulting, you do what you need to do, within your values to get ahead.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important. And I also don't want us to box ourselves to say, if I'm not working in my passion in this 5-year period, it doesn't mean I'll ever work. I'll never ever work in my passion. That's not true. We're seeing people who every day, are evolving. See Elon Musk's mother, who appeared on the cover of Vogue at 72 or 70.
Wow.
So your life is ahead of you, and if you are not
beautiful,
finding the passion now, you can find it in 5 years, 4 years. But in the meantime, just get on with your job and do it well.
Oh,
sorry, I know it's not the type of it's not the type of comments that those great motivational speakers tell you, but it is what it is.
No, well put. And this is exactly why I came to talk to you. We need the reality checks. There is motivation, which is amazing. And we can sit here, both of us, lie about our passions and all of that. But as you said, we've had to do what we needed to do to get to where we needed to be. Do you know what I mean? And if it's your passion, well done. You know what I mean? If it's not, you'll find your passion later. And it is true. And you really, really do find your passion later in life. I've reached that point now, and I'm loving what I'm doing now. This is what I love doing. And Nkiru loves what she's doing. This is what we're doing, sharing the knowledge and just talking about our experience. It just didn't happen. I had to do a job, full-time job, before we could actually get to where we are. So yeah, I absolutely, absolutely love that. Okay, we've got a question from Adachi again. How do you know when it's time to move on from an apparently plum position, especially if you're in the public sector?
That's a tough one. But the truth is, discomfort is always speaking.
Yeah.
And we are the ones who need to listen. And so this job is great, you're in the public sector. Sometimes it's high flying, it's everything, that the textbook says, but you're uncomfortable. There's this great discomfort that you can do very little about. It's just there, it's sitting in your heart, on your shoulder, on your neck. And your role is to sit down to say, what is this discomfort saying? What is it saying to me?
Yeah.
And I think that even while you are identifying or have identified it, there also is the role to say, practically speaking, if my head and my body and my entire self is saying it's time to go, is it, the right time financially? Is it, what is it? This is Africa. I've seen people who, and I know people don't advocate for that, any longer, who have, stayed on a bit because even though they felt great discomfort and they knew it was time to go, they were paying black tax. They were solely responsible for their families. And so they were saying, okay, guys, I'm going to give my family, everyone in this family, can you shape up in the next 1 year? I'm out of this role, just so you know. And you'll be taken care of. So there are things and adjustments you need to think about if family is a strong value for you.
Yeah.
But if you do not have any responsibilities and you are financially good and you hear the discomfort loudly, you must take it. You must arise and do what it is that, the discomfort is saying. And always great to have a plan B, always.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think you'll always know. The discomfort is there. Like you, maybe not in the public sector, as you're saying. I left a very nice job, an amazing job that was taking me to amazing spaces just because I had outgrown it. And no matter what they put on the table, I was just like, at that time, it was the 2010 FIFA World Cup, South Africa, and I was just like, I want to be part of that. So that's what was driving me. And I found a new job, didn't pay me more. It eventually worked out in my career, but it was just, it's time to get out. And what's also interesting is God, he will kick you out of that position if you continuously still stay in it when you should go. That's where sometimes arrangements happen. And I'm not saying,
Mm.
but sometimes the retrenchment can be a blessing. You know what I mean? It's a way of forcing you out of the environment you don't want to get out of. You know, so it's kind of like so that you can see that it's so. I also think it's what you say, resources. So if you want to move to another sector, learn that sector and figure out that sector needs and make sure that you have those things. If not, thank goodness for COVID. In a way, we're living in an online situation, right? We can learn.
Well,
There's a lot of things that we can learn in terms of skills. So yeah, for me, I'm hoping this doesn't kick us out because it's been about an hour. I'm not seeing any questions, any other questions, guys. I hope I didn't miss any of your questions. Any last question from you guys? But I think I have gotten everything that I needed to from Nkiru. I think you've been amazing. A lot of people have been, you know, pinpointing all the words that you've put, from respect, tonality, and time. Those are very important. Please remember that about when you need to have conversations. For those of you that have other passions like the rest of us, you are currently, and I'm also going to start saying that, a multi-passion careerpreneur. Part of that, you also spoke about some bosses are just bad managers. It's got nothing to do with you, you know? So don't go home crying, thinking that you're terrible. You might just be reporting into somebody who's just a poor manager. Really get to know who you are. And that you're asking me to please replay of this live. I will definitely post it immediately after this on our Insta Live so that you can actually watch it. Zingisa says, great insights. Love your podcast. So yes, she's on podcast as well. Follow.
Yes, podcast for the working girl. Thank you. Yes, we forgot that.
There we go. Podcast for the working girl. She's got the book, The Pressure Cooker, Lessons from a Working Woman. Follow her on Instagram. I do. She will give you the tips of half the things that you're actually asking, how to manage poor managers, you know, and I think, wow, everybody's just always amazing and interesting to listen to you. Very interesting session. A delight to listen to. Following you right now. Listen, Nkiru, you've been amazing. And I think basically from what everybody's saying, you'll be back. We're going to have you back. Okay.
Happy. Thank you, Jules. True pleasure and honor to have been here. Blessings, everyone. Best wishes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I suppose you end the session, right?
I'm supposed to. I'm trying to figure out now. My Instagram looks different. Okay. Okay, let's try that. Thank you, everyone. Loving the thank yous. We will try to have another session with Nkiru. And we will be getting other speakers as well and life coaches. So do stay tuned to us. Cool.